Okay. Okay.
So welcome Richa and Amrita and Gomti for the session on At the Feet of the Master. This is a book written in 1911 by J. Krishnamurti when he was just 14 years old, 14, 15. And that book was published by the Theosophical Society. At the Feet of the Master refers to a set of instructions given by the master. Here, the master refers to Humi, who was one of the Tibetan saints or yogis. He was actually from India, but lived in Tibet. And there are similar such masters in the theosophical world. So, at the feet of the master refers to the learnings we get from such gurus or such great souls. So, we're going to start today's session, and with just looking at one small thing, which I'd like you to all see, which is J. Krishnamurti when he was a small child. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is him with his long hair, and
Nice.
that's him. So he was discovered on the beaches of this Theosophical Society in Besanagar, and very interesting it is to see that how they saw when they saw him. They said that they saw an aura which was completely unselfish. That is what attracted them to him. His aura was completely unselfish. There was not a speck of selfishness in that aura. So that is him. And I am supposed to introduce this book to you. The introduction is given to us by Annie Besant. And she, of course, says that, talks a little bit about Krishnamurti's English, because he was just a ordinary Tamil boy from background where he was not going to any fancy school or anything. And he was learning English slowly. So this book took him time to write down. Though he was meeting the masters in the astral plane with the help of C.W. Leadbeater, who's another theosophist, he had to come back and write all those instructions down. So all this is written by him, and there have been only some small corrections made, which also is mentioned by in the foreword. And what I'd like to just say is this statement which is there in the forward. With this, after this we will shift over to Gomti's continuation of the four things which are there in the book. It's not enough to say that they are true and beautiful. A man who wishes to succeed must do exactly what is said. It means that just knowing all these things and saying, oh, it's so nice, is not enough. Each of these ideas or these principles or these instructions, try to see how you can apply them. So on one day you can say, today I will try and apply desirelessness, or today I'll try and apply discrimination. There are 4 qualifications on this path, which is discrimination, desirelessness, good conduct, and love. So the way I remember it is DDLJ होता है ना, तो उसके बजाय DDGL है ये. तो इस तरह से याद रख सकते हैं इसको. ये mnemonic आप यूज कर सकते हो, DDGL. So we will start with discrimination. I will stop share and we will continue with Gomti, who will guide us through this chapter. Thank you, Gomti.
Thank you, Vimal. So can you see my screen sharing? So yes. In the book about, At the Feet of the Master, what I went through. It says, there are 2 kinds of people, those who know and those who do not know. So what is it that those who know, and what is it that those who do not know?
Can you make it slideshow so that we can see the whole screen?
Can I? Now you can see?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. So what is it that people don't know, and what is it that people know? So the very fact that people do not know that there are, births ahead of us, and there was a past birth also, that knowledge of the birth, and people suffering in this birth, thinking that all is going to end over here. So all those are things that people who do not know. And how they function, they function by accumulating probably material things in life, probably even suffering for the loved ones. That is, the knowledge is not there. This happens because the knowledge is not there. But when the knowledge is there, and we will be able to discriminate, is what is said in the book. So let us get into further, as you know, Vimal rightly mentioned, 4 qualifications for this pathway: discrimination, desirelessness, good conduct, and love. One by one, we will see now. So what we need to discriminate, it is between real and unreal. This real and unreal has got a direct connection with the people who know and people who do not know. So we will see further. Right and wrong, important, unimportant, true, false, usefulness and uselessness, and selfish and unselfish behavior is widely talked about in this book. Now, when we come to distinguish between real and unreal, what is real? The book says God has a plan, and that plan is evolution. So people who do not have this knowledge, they may think that the present life itself is real. This is all there is to life. But then when we have the knowledge of the past, the present, and the future lives that we are going through now is just the present one, this is what is real. So man keeps evolving birth after birth. That is the reality. And that is exactly what God's plan is, to help man to evolve. That is his plan. So if we understand that, we have that knowledge, then it is real and lasting. And this book also says about discrimination against, religion or race or caste or creed. To all the people, that which matters, this religion, race, and all that is unreal. Because what is real is that all are one. That is the reality. So people who do not have knowledge about this aspect of discrimination, they end up, suffering for the moment, suffering in the moment, probably being unhappy, or probably just believing in the reality of the fact that happiness is all about accumulating, whether it is love or whether it is material things, all that. So if we are able to distinguish between real and unreal, that is the first discrimination he is talking about. Then moving further, also discriminate between right and wrong. The body and the mind are 2. In fact, 3. The body, the mind, and the emotional, that is the astral body, which is our emotional body. They are all different. So he says, dig deep down to listen to your voice. And what is that voice? It is not the physical body. It is neither the mental body nor the emotional body. Do not listen, he says. Do not listen to the physical, mental, and the astral body. Astral body is nothing but the emotional body is what he is talking about over here. So for example, suppose the body wants to eat, even if it is not hungry. Simple example. So even when we are not hungry, the body wants to eat. Even if we are, we know that we shouldn't get angry, but the mind says, okay, the thought comes, oh, this person is bad. Don't talk to this person. Or emotionally, when we get angry, for no fault of the other person. So all that is the job of the physical, mental, and the astral body. So never give in to that. Never listen to these 3 is what he says. Keep the body clean. Keep all these bodies clean. Control the body. It should not control you. You should have total control over the body. The physical body, the mind, and the astral body wants violent vibration. This was, in fact, a new learning for me. Most of the times, 99% of the times, it seems these 3 bodies, they want violent vibrations. But you must decide, is what he says. You are not the mind, but it is for you to use it. Use your mind in a productive manner. Use your mind in an appropriate manner, is what is the discrimination between right and wrong. Then also discriminate between important and unimportant. So being gentle, kindly, reasonable, and accommodative to another person is most important. Rest, everything else is unimportant, is what he says. And also distinguish between what is more useful and what is less useful. So before getting into worldly duties, we should actually fulfill our own duties towards our own self. Maybe ourself, our family, before getting into worldly duties, could be one of the useful things that we can do. God is wisdom and God is love, is ultimate, and that is most important. Then he talks about truth and untruth. So we should be true in thought, word, and deed. Thought first, for there are so many in the world who have untrue thoughts. So many foolish superstitions believed by them. Think for yourself whether it is reasonable or not reasonable. So you must not hold a thought just because many people hold it. So these are some of the, helpful statements that he makes. We can actually, think and ponder over this thought believed for centuries, which may be actually untrue. So all the earlier superstitious beliefs that were there, in yesteryears or probably centuries ago, which may actually be untrue, and we have probably outgrown them also, because it is written in some book which men think is sacred. So you shouldn't just blindly follow is what he says. You think for yourself and discriminate between the truth and the untruth. Find the truth is what he says. Only a wise man can be wisely helpful. Superstition is one of the fetters from which you must utterly free yourself. So superstition is a fetter. It's something that is very negative from which we should be able to free ourselves. So that is about the truth and untruth. Also, he says each soul has its own trouble. So every soul evolves at its own speed, has its own background, has its own karma. So every soul has its own troubles also. So do not take another person's anger personally. So this is a hint he is giving us for us to make our lives better. All anger is foolish. Probably they are in their own vortex. People who are getting angry, when they get angry at us, probably they are actually not angry at us, but they are angry with their own situation. So be truthful in speech also. If you hear a story about someone, do not believe it blindly, for it may not be true. So all this gossip or, talking behind back and talking about the other person. So never believe it when it is coming from another person about another person, unless, there may be very less truth in it. So we need to have this discriminatory power of, the truth, the untruth, the right and the wrong, important, unimportant, and also distinguish the God in everyone and everything. Try to help everyone. So even if we are seeing only the negative, so if we are seeing the negative, one negative, at least we should see 5 positives in the person. So that is what is going to help us. So distinguish the God in everyone and everything. There is God in everyone. There is God in everything. So, and also try to help everyone. So that was about the discrimination aspect. Over to you, Vimal, to continue. So shall I stop sharing?
Yes, thank you, Gomti. I think that was truly beautifully presented. My presentation is very dry compared to that, but anyway, doesn't matter. I love the way you have put it, the pictures, and I need to learn from you how you have put those pictures in the background. Okay, so my topic. All right. My topic is desirelessness. Of course, this is something which throughout, whether it is the Buddhist system or any of these systems, they all talk about reducing your desires. Now, desirelessness, it's difficult for all of us, because if you are told that you shouldn't have desires, you think that, arey, that means that's my whole nature. Having aims, we call it aims sometimes, we call it goals sometimes, but most of the time they are all our desires. So if they are taken away from you, they say nothing, nothing of me is left. I'm not even there if you take away my desires. But that is only because you have no idea about a really holy person. Here the word is being used as master. लेकिन आप किसी भी holy person के बारे में सोच सकते हैं. Any holy person whom you know to be a very pure soul. Now, if you are in front of that pure soul, at that moment, what will you desire? You will desire to be like him. उनकी शांति, उनका मेंटल कंट्रोल, उनका काइंडनेस, उनके पास हर चीज का सोल्यूशन होता है. वो किसी भी चीज को वो प्रॉब्लम की तरह नहीं देखते हैं. So that is what you would like to be like. That is in fact the only thing you will desire. बाकी सारी चीजें you will give up. So desirelessness को समझना is a little difficult, because because desire is so woven into our purpose driven life. So let us also look at our hidden desires. Like for example, जो आध्यात्मिक रास्ते पे जाते हैं, आध्यात्मिक means spiritual, जो आध्यात्मिक रास्ते पे जाते हैं. I'm sorry, I'm going to do a little English and Hindi, so it's interesting for both people who understand both languages.
I'm not that proficient. I'm just born and bred in Chennai.
All right, I will stick more to English, of course.
Yes, thank you.
So what I'm saying is that those who are seeking, like the people who give up all material goals and go and sit in some sort of ashram and, you know, say that now my goal is to get self-liberation. Is that the right thing? So here they say that even that is not a good idea, because then you're only seeking liberation for yourself. It's the most selfish goal. After all, you're not doing anything for anybody else at that time. You are thinking that if you focus on all these nice things, you will be free. And then you will not have to take rebirth again, and that your life will be painless. So you have to seek. So even in your so-called unselfish goals, you may be actually very selfish. So if you think only of your progress, you will not actually be serving this whole evolution. The reason for that, I'll tell you the reason for that is in the discussion which Gomti and I had just before, in the beginning of this, when we had not started recording, is that we are all part or cells of one giant being. Now, if you think that, oh, that is not an impossibility, it's like our cells in our body. If each cell, which is complete in itself, thinks that it is the only thing and others don't count, and that it can function the way it wants and it doesn't have to bother about others, it might go against the body and start becoming a cancer cell. So the thing is that it's not like that. We are part of this giant being, which in Theosophy they call it monad. तो दैट इज द आत्म बुद्धि कॉम्पोनेंट कहते हैं उसको, जो सबसे ऊपर है, वो सबके लिए एक ही है. हम सबके पास ब्रेन है, माइंड है, फीलिंग्स है, बॉडी है, लेकिन जो चीज हम सबको यूनाइट करती है, द थिंग दैट यूनाइट्स ऑल ऑफ अस इज दैट आत्म बुद्धि. एंड इफ वी ऑल डोंट वर्क टुगेदर, now it's like we are pulling a rope in one direction, and if we all of us give some amount of strength to pull, we'll definitely go ahead. Our purpose will be served. It's in the same way. So we can't say that one person pull in one direction, another in another direction. Nobody will go ahead. We all have to go ahead in the same way. What is the meaning of going ahead is trying to develop these qualities. So let us now look at the third part, which is the longest part. And isme bahut kuch hai. Let us look at, let me stop sharing. And Gomti, yes.
Yeah. So good conduct, that is the third one, the third pathway. So there are 6 requirements for good conduct, he says. The first one, self-control as to the mind. So it is very important to control the temper and the anger, you know, that of course those are emotions. So controlling of the emotion is important so that the thoughts are always kind, calmer and unruffled. They talk about unruffled thoughts. Calm mind also needs courage so that one can fearlessly face the trials and tribulations of the past life. So for the person who has controlled his mind, sorrow and sickness do not matter, for he knows that all evil is transitory. They belong to previous life. Think what you can do now so that future life is taken care of. So always be joyous and serene is what is recommended. Hold back your mind from pride also. And the next one is what they say is, do not let thoughts wander. So do not let your mind be idle any time of the day, you know. Pour loving thoughts towards people who need it, people who are suffering. So have that self-control of the mind. The second one, and then he says, goes on to say, even depressive thinking is very wrong. Throw it off at once. Control your thought. Do not let the mind idle. Keep good thoughts. Pride comes from ignorance. The wise man knows that only God is great. So when we know that God is great, then there is absolutely no necessity for us to feel proud about anything else in this world. And that was a great learning. The second one about good conduct is self-control as to action. If your thought is what it should be, then the thoughts will result in some action. So the recommendation is leave man to do his or her work his own way. Never interfere with the work, but always be helpful. If they are seeking help, you know, then always be helpful for their improvement, but never interfere in the work. Also, man should learn and that they say is the most difficult part that mankind has, is to mind his own business. And they say that you must also do the ordinary work extraordinarily, better than others. Do your duty first and then take up worldly duties is what they are recommending. So action. So self-control to thought, and the second one is self-control to action. So act first in your own life, like take care of your family, your friends, first your duty towards them, and then take up the worldly duties. The third one for good conduct is tolerance. So feel tolerance for all. Have belief in other religions just as you believe yours. So they are talking about religion over here. Free yourself from bigotry and superstitions. At the same time, you must not condemn others who cling to ceremonies. So in their religious belief in rituals, we shouldn't condemn the other person's religion or rituals or ceremonies. It is their path and it is their evolution. So make allowances for everything. Okay, for you, you must have outgrown, the necessity to perform ceremonies. They may not be necessary for you, as you may believe. It need not be necessary for you. For you may believe, if it is necessary, then you may believe that your ceremonies are better than others. Do not give room to that kind of a pride. And the beautiful thing I liked about here was the metaphor that was used to explain the non-necessity of this ceremonies. It is like a double-line book used by small children, to write the alphabets. They are given the double-line books till the time they practice writing in the line, on the line. And once they have practiced and they have mastered writing on the line, then the double-line book is not necessary. They can even write similarly on a plain sheet. Correct? Similarly, when we are tied up with ceremonies, we require those ceremonies. Perhaps we are all in the path of some evolution. But once we know the truth, once we know that all religions are one, once we know that everyone are one, all are one, so we surpass, or we outgrow the religious ceremonies. So it is like the metaphor. I love the metaphor used over here. So, but then the other person is in his or her own path. So we never condemn the other person following his religion or her religion or performing ceremonies. But for you, you can outgrow it and you can take yourself to a higher level. So tolerate all religions. So feel tolerance for everyone. The fourth one is cheerfulness. So they say, bear all your karma very cheerfully. However hard it is, be thankful it is not worse. So this was a great learning. In fact, give up all feelings of possessions. Do not get possessed about the possessions is what actually they meant. So be ready to part with anything and everything, because getting possessive about the possessions is not the in thing here when it comes to our bearing our karma cheerfully. Fifth one is one-pointedness. Do the master's work. So focus on doing the master's work. Master here could mean our own higher consciousness. Like the conscience already always knows what is right, what is wrong. The conscience knows how to discriminate between important, unimportant, real, unreal. Everything the conscious, our own higher self knows. So do that master's work. All helpful and unselfish work is master's work. And do it very heartily. Think how you would do if the master were to come and see your work. So every time we do some work, we get into action, even our thought. So one thing that can help us is to think how will it look when the master comes and sees our work. So how will we want it to be, seen by the master? So if we can take care of that aspect, then one-pointedness becomes very easy for us. Then the sixth one for good conduct is confidence. Trust the master and trust yourself. If you have seen the master by chance, then you would trust him, isn't it? Okay, the master is saying something. I know, I have seen. So it's tangible. I can see him, I can feel him, and then we will believe him also. But here the challenge is, even if you have not seen the master, we need to trust the master. For example, we see our physical body. Sometimes we can feel our mind. We can feel our emotions also. But we cannot sometimes feel our own higher self. So once we are able to see, even if we are not able to see, we need to believe that yes, he or she is there. and then trust. So that trust is what is going to lead us into getting more and more confident. So that was about the good conduct. I'll stop sharing. It's over to you, Vimal. You're mute, Vimal.
Sorry, that was wonderful again. So yeah, the last chapter in this is the chapter called love. And very simple, of course, all religions talk about the importance of love. Of all the qualifications, love is the most important. For it is, if it is strong enough in a man, it forces him to acquire all the rest. And all the rest without it would never be sufficient. You think a little bit about this. How does love force you to acquire all the other components? Obviously, you cannot be in a state of love if you feel anger towards somebody. So you have to control your anger. That means you have to control your emotions. You have to control your thoughts, because your thoughts are creating the emotions. So control of your mind. Then if you think about love, how can you have love if you are hearing gossip about somebody? Or how can you have love if your aim is to accumulate a lot of power or money or position? Because aapko bahut sare log, you have to compete with a lot of people, so you are putting down a lot of people and trying to rise above. So that is not a sense of love, that is more a sense of superiority. So once you say love is all, then automatically all the other tendencies of competitiveness, of putting down others, of trying to rise above, and acquisitiveness, everything, that is desirelessness, discrimination, and the 6 points of good conduct, automatically you start developing it without thinking about it, because you're focusing on love. These things will just become logical to love. Often it is translated as an intense desire for liberation from the rounds of births and deaths and for union with God. But it is this way, when we put it, it sounds very selfish. So basically, it's not so much desire as will, resolve, and determination. One needs to produce its results. This resolve must fill your whole nature, so as to leave no room for any other feeling. It is indeed the will to be one with God, not in order that you may escape from weariness and suffering, but in order that because of your deep love for him, you may act with him as he does. So this sense of love that you have to develop is not just so that you are not suffering. It's also to help this entire evolution along with, for all the others who are going along with you. Because he is love. You, if you would become one with him, must be filled with a perfect unselfishness and love also. In daily life, this means two things. First, you shall be careful to do no hurt to any living thing. Second, that you should always be watching for an opportunity to help. First, do no hurt. 3 sins there are which work more harm than all else in the world: gossip, cruelty, and superstition, because they are sins against love. Superstition, if you notice, is used a lot in this book. In today's day, do you think we are still superstitious? I don't think so. I think it's more nowadays, if we have to watch against wrong action that we may be doing, it may be that we are wasting a lot of our time on social media. I think that might be something where we could be doing something more productive with our time, helping other people. We are started becoming very used to a certain, this little kick that we get of joy of social media, different kinds of social media. Sometimes it's just, also we talk a lot with a lot of people, but that conversation has not got much depth. So I would think that these things seem to be harming us more today than superstition. But in this time, like written in the 1920s, of course, India was steeped in superstition. So that it makes sense for them. So coming, I think I will quickly wrap up because we have very few minutes left, just 4 minutes. And I would like you all to discuss whatever we've done. You can, this one part is something which is interesting, where if you think evil about some person, you're actually doing a lot of harm to that person. Firstly, you're feeling your neighborhood, your mind, your thoughts are filling your entire environment with the evil thoughts about that other person. And instead of ending sorrow and unhappiness in the world, you're adding to the amount of sorrow in the world. Then the evil which is there in the other person, he tends to become even more worse because of your thoughts. You keep thinking that person is good. For example, if you have a maid in the house, you keep thinking, is she going to rob? Is she going to rob? One day she may end up robbing you, even though she may never have thought of robbing in the beginning. So if we are always suspicious, we also tend to behave like that. Today, I helped one maid, my maid joined another flatmate. And that lady has recently given birth to a baby. So after it's been about a week, and I asked her, how's the baby? Because I have not yet seen the baby. Thanks to Corona, nobody has visited. So she said, no, I couldn't work there. I said, why? She said, I worked there for 3 days. Wherever I was going, she was following me. So she said, what is this? Whenever I'm going, whichever room I'm going, she's following me. What is this? I can't work like that. So for 3 days, I took 200 and stuff. See, you are so suspicious in your mind, you can't trust another person with what can be outside. Tell me, what can be outside? You're not keeping your money and your gold outside or your expensive clothes. What is there outside for a person to steal? And even if that person takes that, how poor he must be to steal that. So leave that, that. So if we keep thinking of the evil of the other person, we tend to make them more evil. And the third thing is that instead of thinking evil, working towards that person's further degradation, if you try and think of good things, you might actually help that person. So never speak ill of anyone, refuse to listen when anyone speaks ill of another. And then this is, of course, about cruelty. There are 2 types of cruelty, intentional and unintentional. Both are equally bad, but intentional is worse. Karma will affect you more. And you should try to have this intense desire to have service for all. This kind of a sense of service for all develops love, develops mental control, develops emotional balance, and so many other things. So service is sometimes can be an end in itself, and it's a very rewarding end. It's a better end than seeking goals in career and money and all that. And this is about the Satyam Shivam Sundaram, ya Satchit Anand Kete. So many things. Will, wisdom, love. It's written here, which is the essence of the Lord above. So with this, I stop sharing, and we have exactly 1.5 minutes to talk about it.
I have a small request. After this gets over, can we log in again and have a small chat for about a couple of minutes?
Yes.
Not long, if not long.
Yeah, and we'll record that also. And that will also, I'll put it all in one video.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
That may not be recorded because my questions may not be that appropriate or anything.
No, it's very important. Sometimes these spontaneous conversations are more meaningful and more deep. Because when we are reading out some literature, we tend to be right. But when we are expressing our thoughts, there are solutions to another person's problems also.
Okay.
Yes, Richa, your feedback.
Hey, I'm still absorbing it, I wish I had just read this in the morning. So I'm like a little confused. Maybe I'll read it and hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Are we there?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. Go ahead.
So I think I will just read this and, whatever query I have, probably I can just put it on the group. But in the meantime, I would definitely log in again and listen to Amrita, what is the vortex exactly?
Vortex?
Yeah, it was there in, I think, discrimination.
No, what are the 4 things you're saying? Desireless, the demonic. DDLJ, this is a DDGL. Desirelessness, discrimination, desireless.